next panel discussion is on the emergence of hybrid learning in higher education, advantages and perils. So I would like to invite the panelists for this panel discussion. Dr. Vikas Dhawan, Pro Vice Chancellor, Shri Guru Govind Singh Tricentenary University, Gurgaon. Sir, please come on the stage. Professor V.K. Sharma, Executive Vice President, Sharda Group of Institutions, Mathura. Professor Sharma, he's not here. Professor Dr. Ajay Poddar, Pro Vice Chancellor, Om Sterling Global University, Hisar. Sir, please. Thank you. Dr. Prasanjit Kumar, Pro Vice Chancellor, Noida International University, Noida. Dr. Kumar is not here. He should be joining us. Professor Pradeep Nair, Dean and Director, Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dharamshala. Professor Pradeep Nair is yet to join. Dr. T.R. Pandey, Director, Ajay Kumar Garg Institute of Management, AKGIM, Ghaziabad. Sir, kindly come. Mr. Rishabh Mehta, Head Partnership and Alliance, Coding Ninjas. Yes. Sir. We have Professor V.K. Sharma, Executive Vice President, Sharda Group of Institutions, Mathura. Sir has joined. Professor Pradeep Nair, and the moderator for the session is Ms. Garima Pant. She's Assistant Editor, Digital Learning Magazine. She's the moderator. Yes. Ma'am, please join. Yeah. Thank you. So I think we can begin this session. Yeah. Please proceed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And we'll be discussing the emergence of hybrid learning in higher education, the advantages and perils. Just to set the context for the discussion, I'll allow every panelist to share an opening remark on what, according to them, is hybrid learning, traditionally and, of course, in the current scenario. If, we can set the context to the discussion and then take it further. So I'll begin with you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hybrid learning, what we understand by hybrid learning is a judicious combination of the traditional ways of learning, the chalk and talk method, as one of the previous sessions, one of the speakers said, along with computer-mediated digital content dissemination. Now, both have their advantages as well as their disadvantages, right? Hybrid learning combines judiciously these both modes of transmitting knowledge and learning, and therefore substantially the weaknesses of either form or mode of learning get substantially reduced. Hybrid learning takes care of a lot of weaknesses. I can count a few. One was that learning at your pace, at your time, at your place, which is not possible in the chalk and talk brick mortar system. Learning for the ones who are slow learners, learning for the ones who are fast learners. This has been a problem in the chalk and talk system because, say, 50% of the class is at the middle level pace of learning, and we adjust our learning, disseminating or teaching focus on these students. The ones who are advanced and quick learners, the ones who are slow learners, they do not get adequate mentoring either or adequate material to feel happy with. Now, when you have a hybrid learning and additional material to explore, or you have material simpler than what has been disseminated in the class, it helps either of them. The advanced learners get advanced topics to discuss, to explore, to learn, and the slow learners get a lot of mentoring and help. So that is one great advantage. Other is, we learn by, how do we learn? In neuroscience, we have senses, ears to transmit what we hear, eyes to transmit what we see, hands to transmit what we do. Mostly. There is nose, there are other senses also, but that learning is very infinitesimal compared to these three major senses. Now, all are not equally good auditory learners. By hearing, they may or may not learn the entire content. About 80% or 70%, some figure between that, are good visual learners. If you demonstrate something, if you create a picture of something, if you give material in the video form, they learn much faster, much better. There are ones who learn only by doing. Their hands will send the signal that will get recorded in the mind as a neural chunk, what we call as a chunk of network. And that network is what learning actually produces inside us. Once that network has been properly created, properly cohesive, clear, recallable, the learning has occurred. Because we can recall when we need, we can use, and that remains deposited. So this was a problem. How to mix instructions in the chalk and talk method is only auditory learning. But when you go for hybrid learning systems, you have both audio, you have videos, you can record things. Even skills can be taught better through the video mode because we may not have all the equipment. An equipment costing 50 lakhs, an average college may not be able to afford. There's been an experiment done on conducting surgery, let's say cardiac surgery. Now they have evaluated cardiac surgery in very minute details and prepared videos. So first the students are shown the anatomy, then they are shown the videos of how the surgery is concerned. Then there is an artificial intelligence assisted digital surgery that you do. You take your pen, you cut it, you open it, there is a mistake, the signal will come that you are committing a mistake. Nobody dies. But the person learns. Then you are given the opportunity of actually operating on a dead human body and then finally on a live human body. Of course, all this is getting one stage further by robotic surgery, but this is how even skill transmission gets facilitated, which you must have seen in the previous sessions, is one of the biggest challenges our undergraduate education is facing. Our teachers don't have the skills. They have not passed through the system. We are unable to train them. They are not willing to acquire those skills. We cannot pass on those skills to our students. We hire, we associate, we outsource, we do all kinds of things, and still the results are unsatisfactory. Hybrid learning with these kind of courses, integrated skill courses, can be wonderful. And the last advantage is assessments are very fast, very clear, and very quick. So you can repeatedly assess, get a data bank made, assess each student immediately after a class, immediately after a module, like you conduct class tests, deliver a lecture, let them open their laptops, give 5 questions, evaluate, and record their score. And then follow and track those scores manually. That may not be possible. And then you can apply your inferences either through artificial intelligence or your own human intelligence and find out which student is weak in which subjects and what kind of his performance was good 3 months back. Today it has gone down. What is he passing through, some kind of a mental problem or some family problem, something. You can analyze and counsel. You have a lot of data for counseling. So this is how digital learning helps, but what it cannot do is the counseling and mentoring part cannot be done digitally as effectively as face-to-face. Peer-to-peer learning, learning to control emotions, learning to develop human skills, interpersonal skills, digital mode is not suitable. That has to be the traditional face-to-face learning, but counseling and this thing can be derived from digital data and transmitted physically, encouragement, motivation, patting up, cheering up, all this can happen in the manual mode. Together, this forms an unbeatable combination so far as we are concerned today. This is what I'd like to say.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for these pertinent points. Sir, if you could like to share your thoughts.
I believe sir has already thrown a lot of light on different dimensions of what hybrid technology or what hybrid learning can constitute. The first thing one should consider is as to how did this particular phrase hybrid learning or hybrid education come in the system. In fact, if this audio-visual system of learning is there, I believe it was already there before 2020, before this pandemic struck us. We were using different medium, we are using computers, we are using without computers also in the form of collage, we are trying to, teach students. So that kind of, audio visual system was being created in this classrooms without use of any IT system or any computer as such. But we, as I told you, we must understand as to how did this particular term come, hybrid technology. In fact, it has come immediately, after this COVID struck us during pandemic. We started with online system, which was altogether, we'll agree, one-way traffic, without knowing whether the other person is receiving whatever is being transmitted. So some kind of, new system came, which people, they initially said is blended learning. Over a period of time, some new improvement has come in the jargon. It was named as, hybrid technology. The point is, no doubt, its uses are endless, and in a country like ours, it has got immense, potential. But just geographic coverage, by using hybrid mode of, technology for education will not be sufficient. When we are talking of geographic coverage, we must understand that we are in India. I mean, if I talk of India first, and that too, we are a human being first. So we are not robots, we're not software, we're not supposed to be machine, we're not supposed to be hardware, we are supposed to be human beings only. And we are talking of education. Learning plus socializations, which sir has just told, emotions, together is what constitutes education. So we are educating people. So hybrid alone cannot be a substitute to, sir rightly told, face-to-face education. Again, I'm coming from, a different background, so probably people can brand me quite conservative as far as hybrid technology is concerned. But it is based on our own experience of 1.5 years of past. Whatever we did, we tried our best. But to the extent we expected, the result from other side was not there. Therefore, no doubt geographic coverage is guaranteed. But what about the geographic coverage in a country like India, where bandwidth of the internet is not so sufficient, is inappropriate? The connectivity is very much fluctuating. And even if it is there, you don't know what kind of people are there on the other side, whether they are studying by just switching on and logging on. So what I'm trying to exert out of it, when you are talking of hybrid kind of learning using hybrid technology, we must understand as to who our audience are going to be. Are the audience like people from out of us? Then of course we'll be very much serious irrespective of which technology we go for or we do not go for. But if we have got a different lot we often see in the country, which are a major lot in the country, I believe this will not be sufficient. So this is what
Right.
I thought I should be saying.
Very, very pertinent, sir, very pertinent. Sir, if you could share your initial thoughts on it. Yeah.
Rightly said by our two of the panelists. However, I have a little bit a different view to see into the situation that after COVID we have come out with the hybrid system. In fact, we have come out with the online learning system. And our teachers were not skilled enough to give the classes in certain way which is actually required for the online learning. However, in the last 18 to 20 months, we already have got some exposure, and students are also have started accepting it that online system is going to be persist in the future. I would just like to give you one example that when we were in India in ancient time, we were having the Gurukul system. And after the Gurukul system, we have shifted to the school system. You see, the same type of the difficulties and challenges have came at that moment also. However, so the certain era actually gives you a certain kind of the difficulties, challenges, and we need to overcome with that challenges so that the new way of the learning and skills to be acquired through the new methods. However, the topic of today's discussion is that hybrid system, whether it is having the advantages or perils or something. You see, every system, no system in this world comes with the 100% advantages. There are disadvantages always with that system, and we need to find out the more appropriate way to minimize those disadvantages. Uh, yesterday, we were discussing on one topic, that evaluation system. Evaluation system, many panelists have said that it is very, very difficult to find out the students' correct learning. However, you see that this learning system, hybrid system, is there in the world from the last 20 years. It came in India, in Asia, that a matter of another matter, but in the western part, the system is from the 20 years and they are doing it very well. So what are the things, what are the methods they have acquired? We need to understand. There are a proctor-based system by which evaluation and examination can be handled properly. Then, yes, we have a certain problems with the bandwidth. We have certain problems with the English communication also. In fact, if you will go with the online learning system, most of the learning is come through with the English language. So the students who are in the semi-rural area or rural area is a difficult part. However, we need to find out our ways that how we can overcome that. And I believe that for some, it is a fantastic system that the reports said that the students are started liking it, and they wanted to shift themselves from the spoon feeding way to the learning way. And the faculty is also required to be a mentor, not only a teacher. In that way, if we will go, then definitely it's going to be persist in the future. And I believe that the years will be coming in 15 to 20 years or 10 years when we will be seeing a complete paradigm will be shifted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If, sir, you would give your opening remarks.
Yeah, first of all, very good afternoon to all of you. So, presently, one school of thought was being discussed that which comprises of offline and online teaching being done both at a time is considered to be hybrid learning. So, I have got two opinions about it, and I will show you what the path will be and what future has for digital learning. Basically, yes, pandemic has taught us to go online, and students have more or less got accustomed to the online platform. So nowadays, the hybrid learning in more or less parts of the country is known as that, yes, you are offering online and offline courses, that is hybrid. But I certainly don't agree with it. Hybrid learning is something different. You know, hybrid universities will come up in near future, whereby attendance won't be mandatory. I will give you a very good example of that. Suppose you have a high-tech classroom, which is comprising of all the technologies that are needed to just show the child that the professor is just sitting next to you, even if he is at home. So let me give you this beautiful example. Suppose you have a professor in Stanford, and he is delivering a lecture. And he is delivering the lecture globally, and students in Taiwan, students in India, students in Pakistan, Afghanistan, different parts of the world, as well as Stanford professors, students are sitting in front of him in his class. So he is delivering the lecture in a hybrid mode, whereby the students who are sitting in the class and students who are sitting globally are getting access to him, and they can question him about anything, and he has different, technological tools with him. He has maybe a headphone in his ear, and he can just listen to a question from a student across any part of the country and across the globe. He may or may not answer that question. That answer may go to the speakers in the classroom, and that question may come to the speaker in the classroom, and the entire class may be able to access that question and listen to what professor has to say. And the second school of thought is that suppose I am a professor and I have got 30 students in my class, and one of my students has to go to Shimla, and he wants to go to Shimla, and he needs to go. So what he can do is, sitting in Shimla itself, he can access my class, whereby I am teaching the other 29 students in my class. So at the same time, what I am doing is that student is not deprived of the knowledge being disseminated in the class, and he can access my lectures online or offline both. Suppose a student feels that I need some experiential learning, I need to come to the lab. most welcome. He can come to the university and get access to the equipments there. And suppose a child feels that today only theoretical classes are there and I shouldn't go to the university. So my classrooms are well equipped that whatever I am teaching in the class is being accessed online and offline both. So that is the hybrid learning. That is my school of thought that I feel.
Right, right. So, Mr. Mehta, I'd like to ask you, how how was your organization able to contribute to blended learning during these times?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ivan, for a wonderful thoughts that you've given about the blended learning. So I represent Coding Ninjas. We have been successfully working with colleges to implement the hybrid learning model over there. Personally feeling if the hybrid model is perfectly integrated in the college, the university faculty become much more free. So he can work on the other models, other different way of learning to student, impart a different life of learning to them, like life learning and all, and motivate the student to learn more and learn better. So if hybrid model is perfectly implemented, and the Coding Ninjas, as my company, right, we are helping the students to get placed in the top product-based company, top product that help them to get an exponential growth in the career. So we have been working with some university, as the name Chitkara University is one of them. We have implemented that. The content is being provided to them, to the college and university. The college faculty take care of the content and help implement the learning with the help of the content. So some of the topics are being covered by the college faculties. Some of the topics are being covered by the experts from the industry that we have providing them. And the best model, the best thing that is happening is that of every performance has been properly tracked. So we can track it that how many students have completed how much assignments, how much time they have devoted to the particular problem, how much time they have taken to attempt that particular problem, and the attendance even can be mapped, and performance can be tracked. So teachers have lots of information to understand which student is lagging where. And even the student performance can be mapped that this set of students are performing well, they can go to the next level of training, and other people can, the teacher can rework with them and make them understand this concept in a much better manner. And so the complete thing can be mapped so that all the data with the help of data and artificial intelligence, the teachers can and the college can even mentor, manage students to make sure the result properly popped up. Result in terms of university result or even talking about the placement results. So this is how we have done it. And
Okay.
Actually, I want to add to this that hybrid learning system has the biggest advantage that it caters to slow learners and fast learners automatically. Because what happens is that when you're disseminating a lecture in a classroom, the fast learners are very quick to pick it up, and slow learners are actually very slow and they actually miss out many of the things. But when you use technology as an aspect, like I was sharing that the lecture can be accessed offline, online, and the system already has an incorporated recording with it. So a slow learner can always go into the system and just fetch the feed, and he can re-access what professor had taught in that particular classroom. Plus, there were few hybrid systems being followed earlier also. It is not new after a pandemic. LMS was something which was already being followed. ERP was always there. Then there were certain, platforms like Coursera and Udemy already before pandemic, whereby a student can go for second certification also. It is that a medical student may feel that I must learn artificial intelligence. At the same time, I'm learning medical subjects. So hybridization is, it looks into many aspects. It is not only that it is online and offline, it is online and offline. Apart from this, a student of engineering may be studying medical. Like in our university, being a pro-vice chancellor academics, what we have done is, we have hybrided the entire curriculum. We have introduced syllabus like dental engineering. Because I personally believe, all the medical equipment is being imported into the country. Just because we don't teach how these equipments are manufactured and how these are repaired. We have no courses like that. So hybridization is into many things. Hybridization of one stream with other, of one technology with the other, of online class with offline. And like I have given you an example, it can be accessed anywhere across the globe, can be recorded, can be re-seen through the LMS. Any slow learner can, go through the assignments many times. We all are aware of Coursera. Because why I'm giving Coursera, because they are actually the partners. Let me give their example. So you can access their course time and again. If you're not able to understand once, you can repeat that video again, repeat it 10 times, 100 times, and then go into the assignment again, refetch the assignment, undergo the assessment process. So hybridization has many angles to it. It is how far you can see. But believe me, you will have hybrid universities in near future where it won't be mandatory to go to the university. It will be child's choice to go to the university on a day when he feels like, and if he doesn't feel like, he won't go to the university.
Right, right. Thank you. I think we've heard both the advantages and the perils of hybrid learning, but I'd like to, open this question to all the panelists and seek their views on, so where do you think, what is the way out? How can one balance both the advantages and the perils to, bring out a solution which is in, tandem with the times and probably, also futuristic? So if the panelists, yes, sir, you can.
Yeah, I will give you an example of our university. What we have done is, because I look into the academics, we have made 20% online as a choice to the system. If a student feels he wants to enter the hybrid system, the credits are drawn from the online courses that he does, and probably that is the way to go. Although UGC has given a open verdict that 40% online courses can be offered to the students. But yes, to start with, because it is purely a new paradigm that we have seen after COVID, and the entire system, as Poddar was saying, needs to understand, the nitty and gritty of the system, what critical issues will arise. So what we have offered is, if a student feels that he wants to, do extra credits, suppose he has to do 160 credits in engineering, and 20% we have told him that he can use the SWAYAM portal to access few courses in artificial intelligence or maybe any other courses relevant to his stream, maybe from management or maybe from other sciences. So what the student can do is, apart from the offline classes, he can have additional 20% credits from there. And suppose he completes the course well in time, so the last semester he can certainly go for entire year for internship. So that way what we have catered to is fast learners and slow learners. So slow learners are very slow, so what they can do is, even slow learners can opt for 20% online courses and complete their credits in 4 years of span. But say if there are fast learners and they feel that I have got ample time at home and I can, complete more of the certifications at the same time, then he will, earn more credits in a semester. And he can complete the 4-year course in a 3-year course, and then last year he can devote to internship and training, which will be really helpful to make him corporate ready. So that way the fast learners can complete the same curriculum in lesser duration of time, and the slow learners can, complete in the set duration of time.
Right. Thank you. Dr. Poddar, if you'd like to add to it.
Yeah, in fact, Dr. Vikas has rightly said that how we can control the pace of the students for the fast learner and the slow learner. However, I will focus another disadvantage, or you can say that another hurdle which we need to be overcome in coming days. That is the internet speed. What the gentleman beside me has said, that the speed of the internet is another challenge in India. So we need to find out the ways how we will be able to give the right speed of the internet to the users. Another thing is that you see, in the hybrid system, now students has started questioning the faculty on their skills and on their knowledge itself. The students are able to find out the contents and other kind of things on the internet. It is easily available on their fingertip. So the faculty need to be very, very smart enough to provide the content in such a way that will be so that the student can be engaged. So engaging the student is one of the another hurdle in the online system, in the hybrid system. And why we are actually telling it as a hybrid system? You see, unless we get a proper appropriate system, it is like a hybrid system. And we are actually marching towards to get the online system more thoroughly, so that the current schooling or the university system will become a past days. And as I said that yes, the days are coming very fastly, that the system will be overcome. However, how the faculty will be having a another kind of their duty. They need to be a proper mentor. They need to encourage the student, motivate the student, make them to understand the lesson before they are coming to the class, so that in the classroom they will become a facilitator. And students will be only discussing the things and bringing the creativity from themselves. I believe that this type of the academic is no far, and we will be seeing it very fastly.
Right, right. Probably Professor Sharma and Dr. Pandey could add also, on the faculty development needed to, make them more prepared for hybrid learning. If
Again, coming back to same thing, uh, if you are looking at hybrid system, what you call complement to the existing system, then it's okay. But if you are looking at it, from online, offline perspective, and that too simultaneously, then we are in a very dangerous zone. I mean, going forward. Of course, it is a good complementary, product, but it cannot supplement the system. It is an emergency, a help, system that we are using, and we are, getting thrilled also in the process because it has come for the first time to the system. Further saying, I'm also from a college wherein we have got engineering as well as management, students. We had faced the problems, of conducting lab sessions, practicals, so many other things, practically it was very much impossible for us to conduct them. I mean, we can discuss a lot, but once we start doing that, we come across the real problem. So as far as this particular pandemic is concerned, which I don't know whether it is over, it is going to come back or what. I mean, so as long as this particular, narrative continues, there is nothing wrong in going for it. But it cannot be an alternative to the existing system. It has to complement. This is the only thing, and it is, again, I conclude by just saying it is an emergency mechanism, nothing else and beyond that.
right,
Thank you.
right. Thank you. Professor Sharma, if
Yes, I slightly beg to disagree. These two systems have to complement each other. We have to find out ways and means how to integrate them together. That's the challenge. What we are doing, or we have studied and are going to implement, is what we call as integrated discovery learning. It is both classroom learning as well as digitally guided learning. What we do, we put an initial content on the LMS, the learning management system. The student has to access themselves, do self-study, and come prepared to the classes. They've already studied and then come to the class. The teacher takes a 5-question objective type of test to ensure that students have come prepared with study. Those 5 questions have to be answered. If somebody scores less than 3 marks, he's asked to quit the class. So the student is compelled to score at least 3, 4, 5. That goes into pre-recording. Then the teacher's job, as one of our friends said, is deliberating on the finer points, on the advanced points, on case studies, on problem solving, on facilitating. He repeats some of the courses through presentations, of course, PowerPoint presentation, discusses, showed videos, shows experiments, shows supplementary skill development. This thing integrates that, discusses, brings out the finer points. And again, the student is tested with 5 more questions, 5 minutes at the end of the class. He has to answer it within 5 minutes. And again, if he scores less than 2, it's a less than 3, it's a discredit for him. So he has to sit in the class and he has to pay attention. If he doesn't pay, he doesn't score. Students understand only the language, कितने में कितना number मिला. मैंने इतना score किया, मैंने उतना score किया. वो उनकी पूंजी है, right? So immediately you know whether the person has been attentive or has not been attentive. Then they are given assignments along with a supplementary advanced course listing out all other available courses, NPTEL courses, problem solving, solutions, videos, virtual labs, all links provided. Now he has to access, and one of our friends said, if he gets one of those certifications, we are listing SWAYAM courses, we are listing NPTEL courses, we'll list Coursera courses, we'll list other standard courses related with the subject content of that particular topic. If the student does that certification, he gets additional credit, and then he gets a BTech honors. Otherwise, he gets an ordinary BTech degree. This is how he's compelled to access, because the assignments are so designed that unless post-class LMS you access, you will not be able to answer those assignments. He's compelled to again study. So we are building in more and more compulsion and confrontation with the student, so the student is prompted to attempt that. This is how you have to integrate. We can't discard, because this is the learning for the future. Somebody mentioned in the previous sessions 21st century skills. One of those skills is collaboration at an international stage. A company of 10 people with $1 million turnover has one person sitting in India, another sitting in US, a third sitting in Singapore, a fourth sitting in somewhere in Middle East, a fifth sitting in UK, and they are providing solutions, IT solutions or some kind of software development solution. They contact only on phone or on laptops and solve problems, integrate and provide the solution. They're not employed in a brick and mortar this thing. They are employed totally digital employment, working from home, no offices, no traveling, no access. And 7 people delivering a turnover of $1 million. There are at least 500 companies like this in the world. All have come up in the last 2 years. How do you develop this technical savvy ability in your students? Can they be a part of this? Can they appreciate intercultural sensitivity? Can they work like this, so free, so devoted, so committed? And they are paid on the basis of the revenue that the company generates, and it is shared. This is going to be the 21st century future. 10 years down the line, will our students be prepared only by the brick and mortar way? Will they learn all these things without collaborating, without discussing, without hearing, without being able to be interculturally sensitive? A combination of both is definitely needed. Or we'll be lagging behind in the race.
Right,
We
right.
have to choose.
Right, sir, right.
We will be lagging behind in the race. We will not be at the forefront of success if we don't do it. This is my observation.
Right, thank you, sir. So, Mr. Mehta, if we can have, the final word from you.
I'll just compliment. Sorry, as I told you, again, it is to complement only. See, if you are having some certification, if you are looking to learn some particular skill set, then it is no doubt the wonderful ocean you can explore. But again, coming to education, I stand by what I say. It is always better to learn new things, no doubt about that. Many a software, what you call Badsa from India, they have come out of this brick and mortar. I just was exploring, some data, from before coming to this place. I thought, because I'll be sitting with experts, so let me explore some data here and there. So I just got accidentally one report of World Economic Forum. They say that in US itself, there has been 60% of deterioration in the against standard parameter of, education success. It is only during 1.5 years. I don't know, they did not discuss anything of India, but I'm talking of US, and if I'm talking of US, I don't know. I need not say anything about India then.
Right. I think,
I'll just make one more observation to support what he said. You see, online learning, purely digital learning, does not provide answer to all learning issues. I told it very right. Writing skills will go down. Speaking skills will go down. Interpersonal skills will go down. Human interaction will go down. Networking will go down. Sensitivity to others, emotion and respect for others will go down. That can happen only when there is a human mentor to a human learner. That aspect, this technology cannot replace in the near future of 2 decades. Therefore, that has to be a blended format where we take advantage of both of these things and create a system which develops a technically competent, professionally competent person, as well as a good human being who can communicate, who can sense, who can feel and share emotions, who can lead, who can be a good team worker, who can have good interpersonal relations, who can have good values as a good human being and enjoy the quality of life. That would not happen unless there is human mentoring and counseling involved. And that only a good teacher, a sensitive teacher, a committed teacher, a benevolent teacher only can do. Machines can't do it.
right. Thank you.
I totally agree with Sarma, sir. Obviously, online learning cannot replace traditional learning. Mentors are always required in the classroom. But definitely online learning or maybe the EdTech platform or maybe the hybrid model learning can definitely complement the college and university. and somehow will be able to make their teacher much more free and become a role model for the student to understand that what they can do next in their life. Conclude this, something that I would like to say, right? So EdTech technology can actually help the university and college to scale up their operations and system, and definitely could be an add-on model for them to make their teacher ready for the next level of learning, next level of delivery, and next level of mentoring that they can do.
Right. Dr. Dhawan, last 30 seconds for you.
Yeah, one the biggest advantage that we have of hybrid learning is that the students who were deprived of listening to professors in Oxford or maybe Stanford or maybe any top 100 universities, now they can follow the hybrid model. And like I gave an example that platform like Coursera, etc., they give you a real good chance to access the knowledge of those professors, those esteemed people whom you cannot actually meet or listen to in the conventional model. So the biggest disadvantage is the mental mindset in India right now, that many professors are reluctant to shift to hybrid learning, and they have so many things to say about the conventional is there. Yes, rightly pointed out by Dr. Saab, that social and emotional skills will lower down if we stress more on online platform. It has to be a perfect amalgamation of online and offline, as well as the second type of model that I had already told you of hybrid learning, whereby your class can be accessed by students who are sitting offline, and also the students who are sitting all across the globe. That is how hybrid learning will take place. Yes, thank you.
Right. We are almost, the time's up for us. And yeah, sure, Dr.
I
Poddar.
just say one line here, that what we have discussed, it's actually gave the perfect saying of our Prime Minister, that reform, perform, and then transform.
Absolutely. Wonderful. It's a wonderful closure. I think I need not say anything else beyond that. So thank you so much to all the panelists, and I'll hand over the podium to you, sir.
An insightful session indeed. I would invite Dr. Ravi Gupta, the founder and CEO ELS Technomedia, to kindly come over and give the token of appreciation to our eminent panelists. Dr. Vikas Dhawan. A round of applause, please. Thank you. Professor V.K. Sharma. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please. Professor Dr. Ajay Poddar. Pro Vice Chancellor, Om Sterling University, Hisar. Dr. T.R. Pandey, Director, Ajay Kumar Garg Institute of Management, Ghaziabad. Mr. Rishabh Mehta, Coding Ninjas.